see my text? Did I miss it? Okay. Oh, good. I'm losing it. Yeah. Jason's doing a great job. Yes. It's start. We didn't have this plugged in all day, otherwise.
I was going to say, as soon as it means late, now we're out of.
How did you?
And then they don't have their turn.
Oh, no. So, yeah, she's doing well. I was actually going to run over there today and meet her. But Kelly wanted to go, so we spread out. Yeah, in this day and age, no news is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, I'm ready. It's Gilderlin SDNY. Sounds good. Good evening and welcome to the October 19th, 2021 Gilderlin Central School District Board of Education meeting. Would you all please silence your cell phones and stand for the pledge? The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we start tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wiles for a message.
Good evening, everyone. It is with tremendous sorrow that I need to inform our school community today about the loss of Dr. Damian Singleton. He passed away last evening at 9:15. Dr. Singleton had a long and outstanding career here in Guilderland. He joined the district in 1996 as a science teacher at Farnsworth Middle School, and he was an amazing teacher who later became an instructional administrator for math, science, and technology at the middle school. And for the last 12 years, he has been the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. He's an amazing educator. He touched every part of our school community and the communities beyond. His vision, his energy, his unparalleled work ethic have made Guilderland what it is today. He was a huge contributor to that work. He was a colleague and a friend and a great leader, and we will miss him profoundly. At this time, we do not have any of the details about services, but we do have the message posted to our website, and will include information so that everyone in the community who wishes to pay tribute to this fine colleague and educator will have the opportunity to do so. Perhaps a moment of silence in recognition of our lost colleague. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Wiles. Next, we have school board recognition.
Yes, we do. So I want to preface this because I know how difficult these two agenda items are back to back. That earlier today, we gathered all of our leadership team members to share the news that I just shared with all of you and to talk about our plan for the day and our plan to go forward. And we realized that this is School Board Recognition Week, and it is the week at which we traditionally recognize our board members with what I think is the best tradition in public education. And we said, well, maybe we shouldn't do this tonight. But then asked the question, so what would Damien want us to do tonight? And 100%, he would want us to not dwell on sadness, but to dwell on the good work that we do for our students. So we're going to soldier on. So I'm going to take a few minutes to say some nice things about board members, and then we have some principals here, and I'll talk about our tradition. So it is officially New York State School Board Recognition Week. And I think no one can dispute, especially now, that school board members take on one of the most important, and I would say challenging, citizen responsibilities that there are, and that's overseeing the education of our community's youth. Boards of education guide local school systems and ensure public schools are flexible and responsive to the needs of our community. You're all volunteers. You work very hard. You are paid nothing and make really difficult decisions that are often not popular, and you certainly hear about it. But you listen with grace and kindness and compassion, and when all is said and done, you do the right thing for our students. So we want to celebrate that tonight with our most wonderful tradition, which is to ask to be commemorative of each of your service. So in the last month or so, our librarians have scoured the new book collections and have found a book that represents you. In it, you'll see a gold seal and a place where your name will be, and for years and generations to come, you will be remembered in the Guilderland Central School District with a library book. Some of you have many library books. So at this time, I'll ask our principals to come up. A couple of them are doing double duty because there were other meetings tonight, but it is with real pleasure that we can recognize you with these gifts, which you have to return because they are library books.
Thanks, Mike. Awesome, thank you. Well, thank you, Dr. Wiles, and thank you to all the principals for coming and handing these out. This is on my list. Nice. We're ready to move on? Okay, so we'll move on to public comment. We have 3 public comments tonight. The first public comment is from William Floyd. These were all in email. First one from William Floyd. With all due respect, I feel I must tell you that I believe the board probably violated the New York State education law by submitting this letter to the enterprise. While individual citizens do not give up their First Amendment rights by being elected to a board of education, New York State education law bars such boards from urging the public to vote in favor of any person or proposition because the board is an agency of the state. If any member of the board, or even the board as a whole, had submitted the letter as private citizens without any reference to your board affiliation, there would probably be no problem. However, you did use your official titles, and that could be ruled as a definite no-no. In addition, it is my understanding that the letter was sent to the enterprise using the board's president's official school district email address. If I am correct in my assessment, any voter could challenge the results of the vote by contacting the Office of New York State Commissioner of Education. Although commissioners have been inconsistent in their rulings on this issue, in many cases the commissioner has set aside the vote as a result of this kind of infringement. My memory tells me that the Gilderland Board has always been careful in the past to walk this line carefully. I don't know what happened this time, but I urge you to be more diligent in the future. From William Floyd. Thank you. And the next public comment is from, still opening up, from Beth Martinez. And she writes, Dear members of the Gilderland School Board, my name is Beth Martinez, and I'm a parent of a kindergartner at Westmere Elementary. I'm writing due to a major concern that I have over a lack policy related to volunteers coming into our school district. My son's teacher announced during open house virtually that she was looking for volunteers to come into the classroom multiple times a week to run crafts and centers with children. When I asked if these volunteers would be required to be vaccinated, her answer was, I don't know, I don't think so. This raised alarm bells for me. I then emailed Dr. Beanie, the principal of the building, and requested a meeting where I further explained my concern and let her know that not only am I concerned for my kindergartner, but I'm also concerned for his younger brother who has a medically complex condition and could be very seriously affected if he contracts COVID. My thought was that since we are taking such precautions as vaccinating athletes, testing teachers and students who are not vaccinated, as well as conducting open house and parent-teacher conferences virtually, we would want to be protecting our children at all costs from individuals who are not vaccinated and not required to be in the building. In addition to the classroom volunteers, I know that there are also PTA and additional parent volunteers coming in the building for various events. Every week a parent is coming in for the banking program, and starting next week there will be multiple volunteers every day for the book fair, running from 10:25 to 10:29. This means that all the students in the school who walk through the gym to see books and gain assistance creating wish lists by volunteers will potentially be exposed to an unvaccinated person who could be a carrier of COVID. On Friday, I brought my concern to Dr. Wiles, who assured me that she would investigate why volunteers are coming in when it is supposed to only be in absolute necessary cases. She mentioned she would be bringing it to her task force on this subject to discuss. I am not sure if that has been possible yet, but I didn't want to write this letter to you all since you wouldn't be meeting until another month. I would like to see Gilderland adopt policies like other districts, such as Albany School District, who are vetting and requiring proof of vaccination for volunteers to enter their buildings. The other decision would to not allow volunteers at all, which would be even harder on the educators and schools, who I'm sure can use the help. Currently, our county continues to be in the red zone for COVID, and there continues to be hundreds of deaths each day locally. I simply want my child to be protected in every way possible so that he is not exposed to COVID and then to bring it home to our family and my medically fragile child. I believe all children in the district deserve to be protected, and I implore the district to adopt a policy that mandates all volunteers in the buildings to be required to show proof of vaccination. I would very much like a response to this inquiry to know what steps will or won't be taken. Thank you for your time, Beth Martinez. Wow. Exactly 3 minutes. And we have one more public comment. This is from Keith Plunkett. My child was just sent home from FMS today due to an exposure with another student who tested positive for COVID. I am furious. Shame on the parent who sent their child to school who is excessively coughing during class and clearly showing symptoms. Keep your kids home. Now my child needs to quarantine due to your negligence. Are you going to pay for me having to stay home from work because of your irresponsibility? To the board, I would like to know why the district did away with the daily health evaluation of each student. If this was in place, maybe the symptoms would be reported sooner and less children, if any, would have been exposed. This is only if the parents were honest and notified that their child wasn't feeling well. I would also like to know why my child cannot test out of quarantine with a negative test result. What is the point of masks if, even though they're being forced to wear them, kids are still being sent home due to possible exposure? Yet anyone who has been vaccinated can test positive and still return to school the very next day. These policies and mandates don't make any sense, and I disagree with the decisions being made for the district, along with those who are making those decisions. Thank you, Keith Plunkett. We don't have any more public comments, right, Linda? Okay, so those three. I made note of all three of those public comments, and so we can follow up on them before the next board meeting.
Saying that because they all say, please let us know. And I think that's important, and we do, but I think people should hear that too. So thank you for saying that.
Sure, I know that some of them, some further discussion was planned anyways, and so, yeah, I made a note of it, and so we can follow up with that. Next, we have consent items. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 5th meeting, CPSE and CSE recommendations, personnel action, and the financials, A through E? Blanca, second Nate. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 9-0. Next, we have information items, school business. I'll turn it over to Neil.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. I have one item this evening. It's an enrollment update. On the first Wednesday of each October, school districts across the state collect a variety of basic educational data to share with the state education department. Among these data are totals of students who are enrolled in each of our school buildings. This year, there are 4,832 students enrolled in our K-12 programs, which is 8 more students than last year and 22 more students than projected during the budget development process. And just to give you an indication by level, elementary will be up 29 students, middle school is up 11 students, and the high school is down 32 students from the prior year.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to superintendent information. Dr. Wiles?
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. My first item is a brief update on our planned November 2nd Superintendent's Conference Day. This is a day where there is no school for students, but there is plenty of learning opportunities for our professional staff. For the first time, we have professional development activities at the elementary, middle, and high school level. This is new for the elementary level teachers. So there is a wide variety of professional development opportunities being offered. We're doing a mix of facilitators. Some are our own teachers and leaders. We also have some outside people coming in to provide facilitation and presentations. The topics are very timely and very much aligned with all of our goals. There are several programs that focus in around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Matt Pinchina, our new director, is facilitating some of those. We also have a number of programs around social and emotional learning and mental health and wellness, both for both our students and for our staff. And then lots of workshops also on instructional technology. As you know, we're getting Promethean boards throughout the district as part of our capital project. So our teachers and others are learning how best to use this technology. In addition to all of these, we have time built in for grade levels and departments to meet on timely topics, and we're looking forward to a really terrific day. I just want to shout out to some of the people at the back table who pulled together a planning team at all 3 of our levels to put together a day that is a nice balance of choices for teachers, but also time to work and plan with their colleagues. So thanks to all who served, and I know they reached out to many teachers to get feedback, so this is a real collaborative effort. Any questions?
One, I've seen notices that there will be early dismissal on several days. Is that, they aren't doing, they're doing the professional development, so they're having the early dismissal for
So we
parent
added
conferences?
2 additional half-days in order to make the conference day work.
Okay. It sounds like a wonderful day for the
Yes, I'm looking
professional
forward to
development.
traveling around and learning some things. So my final item tonight is just a brief update on our COVID testing protocols. We will we'll be starting our required testing for unvaccinated employees this Thursday, October 21st. We have testing locations set up in all 7 of our buildings and the transportation center. We've been communicating with the 95 or so individuals who have indicated they are unvaccinated or have not yet provided proof of vaccination. So that testing will be underway on Thursday. All of those individuals need to be registered on the Quadrant Biosciences platform, so we're helping people as best we can get registered so they can be tested. So we'll give you a update on Friday on how all of that went. I want to thank our nurses for taking on another task in a time when they are very busy. I also wanted to mention, and I think, Rebecca, you had asked in an email a couple weeks ago about the potential for using these same tests for screening of students, but also diagnostics of students. And we have learned that they can be used for both screening and for diagnostics. And I'm very hopeful we can soon get the diagnostic piece of this puzzle going, because you may have heard from parents or others in the community that some of our families are having a hard time getting tests and getting a timely turnaround on the results of the test. So students are missing school, and it's very much a hardship on families and students. So once we get our screening testing for our employees up and running, on Friday we'll be sending information out to families about how to register their child on the application, because they'll need to do that for both the potential for screening, but also if they want us to do a diagnostic test. We have been working with, Neil, you have to help me with the name of the agency who we're contracting out for nurses.
Nurse Connections.
Nurse Connections, to get some additional medical professionals here, LPNs, to help with the testing. We were also just appointed a few minutes ago a float nurse. So we recognize that our nurses are stretched very thin. So adding tasks at this time is not really a terrific plan. So we're happy to have additional professionals to help us with this work. So we're hopeful. And I think that's all I have.
Blanca, you have your hand raised?
95 out of how many staff?
950, give or take. So it's about 10%.
Okay, thank you.
But a couple people who did start the testing process and are in right now, getting second doses soon. They'll only have to do a couple weeks before they will be, they will have to be tested.
Thanks, Regan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wiles. Next, we'll move on to action items, school business. Back to Neil.
Okay, thank you. First item this evening is the resolution and declaration showing the tabulation of votes cast at the special district vote. And this was our vote on October 7th for the capital bond vote. In the materials, you'll see the vote tallies by school, but in total, yes votes were 1,312, no votes were 744, so that proposition did pass. Again, it's the resolution to approve those results.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the resolution and tabulation? Blanca, second Judy. Any questions or comments?
Thank you to the community for supporting us. It was a very good turnout and very strong show of support, and that's great.
All in favor? Passes 9-0.
Next is a resolution for the capital construction bond, and this would be a roll call vote. So what this is a resolution accepting the results, but also authorizing the amount that we can borrow for the project, which is currently the full amount, $21.8 million. Again, we have indicated that we're applying federal funds to this project, but this allows us to go up to that maximum. But we can borrow less than that, so it's advised that we authorize at the maximum amount and then adjust based on our actual needs, which we will do down the road.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the resolution? Barb, second Rebecca. Any questions or comments? And this is a roll call vote, you said, Neil?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
The motion carries 9-0. Thank you, Linda.
Next is a resolution to approve the agreement with Siena College to make available college and high school courses to students for college credit during this school year.
Can I have a motion to approve a college and high school agreement? Nate, second Gloria. Any questions or comments?
This is something we do every year, right? The
Yes, Siena
different
College
schools.
is one of our regulars,
Right,
and we
okay,
have other colleges as well.
okay, thank you.
All in favor? Passes 9-0.
Next is a resolution to approve general fund transfers as noted.
Can I have a motion to approve the general fund transfer? Kim, second Kelly. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 9-0.
And then finally this evening is a donation. So we received a baritone and an electric guitar and amplifier from Karen McIver.
Can I have a motion to accept the donation? Judy, second Gloria. Any questions or comments? Just thank you for the instruments. All in favor? Passes 9-0. Okay, thank you, Neil. Next, we have Superintendent action, Dr. Wiles.
Thank you. I just have one evening this evening, and this is to request approval for a memorandum of agreement between the Guilderland Central School District and the Guilderland Teachers Association. And the purpose of this is to resolve our dismissal and traffic concerns over at FMS.
Can I have a motion to accept the MOA? Nate, second Rebecca. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 9-0.
But this is also being covered by part of our federal, the
Yes, the
extra-
resources will be from our federal
Right.
funds.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wiles. Next, we have board committee reports. Start with communications.
Okay, we met October 13th, and there were a couple of things on the agenda. The first one was a discussion of the capital project and our communications piece of that. The Communications Committee debriefed the positive outcomes of the capital project vote from our perspective. Among our observations included that there were a number of negative letters to the Altamont Enterprise, letters to the editor, regarding the turf field. We felt that it might have been helpful to have a public discussion of the environmental impact of the turf. Much of that discussion did happen, but it was in the subcommittees, particularly the Business Practices Committee, so we might have done better to have more of a discussion publicly about that. Many of the negative letters were from Altamont, and that was a part of the community where the vote was the closest, so obviously it was a very important topic there, consideration. The thought exchange had both negative and positive comments by the committee. Many felt it would have been better to launch it a week or two prior to the vote to give more time to respond to the questions that was submitted there. But we also wanted to thank Patrice Viverito, who's our BOCES communications specialist, for doing a great job posting the responses on our website to the frequently asked questions. She really worked hard at getting that out to people. The district did conduct an exit poll All surveys went to the BOCES Communications Service to be compiled and analyzed, and we should have the results in 2 to 3 weeks, so we're hoping at our next communications committee meeting to discuss the exit poll results. Our second item was to discuss the Board of Education letter to the editor on the capital project. We discussed this, our meeting was last week, and so this came to our attention. I brought it to the committee's attention, pointing out that the board's letter to the editor regarding the capital project directly advocated for a positive vote on the project, and we shouldn't have done that. Neil shared with us that members of the board have a right to make a distinction between their personal opinions and the board opinions. We don't give up our individual rights when we join the board to have an opinion, but when we write a letter to the editor, we go do so as an individual. If we write on behalf of the board, then, as was pointed out in tonight's letter, which we had just received, we need to make sure that we are not expressing an opinion, that we're just, and we always have followed that rule. We always have walked that very fine line of making sure that we're just encouraging people to vote and where they can find information. So we did not feel that we had done a good job there, and we also recommend to the board that anytime any of our group wants to write a letter to the editor representing the board, that we have third eyes look at it, somebody off the board kind of to give us that perspective so we don't lose sight of that again, because it's a very, very important tradition that we've always followed that law. Responding to emails, I brought to the committee the fact that we've been answering a lot of emails this year, and that had been sent to the board. I complimented Seema. I have to compliment Seema on her hard work in making sure that everyone got a response. Some of us individually gave responses, but Seema always made sure that the board, as president, she sent out a response. Rebecca did suggest at the committee that maybe we could divide the work among Board of Education members to lighten the workload. But I did suggest that doing so might lead to emails getting missed or lead to potential miscommunication by someone. So I talked to Seema about it, and we reflected on it, and she was comfortable with the way the handbook, we've been following the new handbook, and she seemed to feel, and we all felt at the committee that it seems to be doing its job. We haven't had any complaints of at least us dropping the ball on this, answering emails. Communications Committee and DEI work, or diversity, equity and inclusion work. The committee had a brief discussion on the DEI work of the district. I recognize that the DEI committee has its own communications subcommittee, and I suggested that we just offer ourselves and stay in contact with DEI to see if we can be of help or service to them as they move ahead with their work. We also discussed our board evaluation form, which you all have in front of you, and we've been very, very good about doing. It's extremely important because it's a way for us to pick up any problems early if we're moving off, in the wrong direction. So far, we've been adhering to this, and nothing has shown up. We wondered, I forget who it was at the meeting, asked that maybe we could make this digital, that it could be part of at the end of the agenda, and that people could just sit and do it right then. So I think that's going to be looked into. I don't know if you had a chance to do that. If there's interest, we could do it that way. There was some people, the committee thought that maybe some people wanted like a day or two to think about it, and that could be done too, because they could just go on the portal and do it at that point. And we'd have to ask Linda to just let people know in a couple of days if they haven't responded to get to the portal and send it in, because it's important that we get everybody's. That's really important to get everybody's perspective. Is there any thoughts about that, or is it something that people would want us to look into, embedding it in the agenda and just having a link at the end? Or continue with the paper copy?
I like the idea of the link.
You like the idea of the link?
We're already on anyways, it's.
Right.
We definitely like the link.
Anybody
I'm
strong?
old and I like paper.
I know, Judy wants paper.
Want paper.
You like paper, Nate? And Barbara, okay, so we got 3.
I'm not sure I'll remember
know
to
where that
do it.
is
I would do it on a link here easily, but I don't think I would
Remember to go back
think
to
to
it.
do it afterwards. I know when we were doing virtual.
Well, I've
we
been
had a hard
trying to
time.
use the time at the end of the meeting to always say, don't forget to do the eval.
Yeah. I'm
and most-
perfectly
and
fine
it's
with
been
it. That's
good.
a great little form and zap it in and before you close out for the day.
So we could have that, and we just need a few those who are still,
Some of the old people.
no, not old, just prefer the paper
Yeah,
copy.
up there.
Traditional, thank you.
Nate's
We are meeting next on November 17th at 4:30, and we'll review, one of the agenda items is to review the exit poll from the capital project.
Thanks, Gloria. Will those results be shared with everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We'll bring, once we look at them, we'll bring them here.
Okay.
And we post them to the website.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and it'll be
Okay.
on the website.
Thank
Anybody,
you.
everybody can look.
Business practices?
Well, we have a meeting
Wow,
tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, so,
that's great.
yes.
Is that gonna be, we're online, right? I think so.
I think you
I'd
said
go.
you were gonna be
You were
online.
gonna be online.
Okay, I will be, I will
Some
definitely-
people are gonna be in person,
Oh,
some.
okay. Less than perfect, but, okay.
Okay. Audit, I know we have a meeting, I think, on the 27th.
Sorry. We have one on September 27th, and we have one on October 27th.
October 27th. At 8 is it 8 AM or 9 AM? 9 AM, I think.
Probably 9.
Okay.
I have to check, and that will be online, because that works better for us, and everybody involved. We don't really have an agenda, I'll have to check the agenda, but we don't have anything pressing since we reviewed the audit from last time at the last meeting, so,
Yep.
we'll figure that out.
And which one am I forgetting?
DEI.
DEI.
right?
There's another one. Oh, policy. How could I forget policy? Barb?
Subconscious.
We're meeting tomorrow at 6:30.
Okay. Thank you. And then DEI?
Go ahead and talk about that. The DEI, we had a meeting on the 12th of October. Our next one is on the 17th of November. In the last meeting, we talked about the open positions on the board and what we're planning to do with that. I think we ended up officially welcoming Kim to the, as a Board of Ed member. And there's still some discussion over how we're gonna, well, we know how we're gonna get the new community member, I think, involved. We did select somebody, so maybe we can get an update on how many packets we got for that. But there's a lot of discussion about how we're gonna stagger our terms. We wanna get more student involvement. I think everybody was really excited about that. So there was a really great conversation about that, and we have, I think it closed on the 15th, didn't it? The
So,
announcement,
yes.
so we,
For the teachers
so maybe,
or staff?
Staff.
Dr. Wiles can give us an update on how many we had, and then we'll work through that process of how we're gonna select that person.
So we received 3 letters, and I think as part of the conversation in some meeting, and I'm not sure which one, I think we wanted to have the DEI subcommittee provide feedback to the board.
Yes.
The Board of Education ultimately appoints the individual, but we would do it with the feedback from the subcommittee. So we'll get those materials out in the next little bit.
Yeah, that's where we landed.
Yeah.
We were gonna get some feedback, and that's great. Was it, did we, so it's 3 total or 3 new? I know
2
we had
new and
some-
1 who asked to
Okay,
come
great,
back.
so 3,
Yeah.
great.
3 total.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Do we have another public comment, Linda? No, okay, thank you. Board issues, ideas, and sharing?
I have something to share.
Go ahead, Kim.
Okay. Well, I went to the drive a bus on October 14th.
Oh, you did it.
So including me, there were only 3 people, I guess, which I guess I was surprised because you got to drive a bus. So it was amazing. They were phenomenal. Like, they did the full walkthrough with what they go through in a day, and just the amount of things that they have to check before even just getting on the bus. Like, you just assume they just go in and start. Like, there were so many different things that they have to watch for and look for, and they have to do it in a very specific amount of time. But it was just amazing to see, like, what they actually do, and it kind of reminded me of a teacher where, like, the main job of what you do is really the smallest amount of what you do on a day. Like, it's probably 20% actually driving a bus. It's 80% they're like counselor, they're teacher, a million different things. I give them massive credit. I wish that they had more people going out for it, but it was just driving a bus. It was awesome. It made me hate getting into my car after. It just felt so tiny. But yeah, it was amazing. They do. I give them total credit. I'm so glad I did it. They do an amazing job, and it's a really hard. I can't imagine to do that while concentrating on everything in the back, and it was just great.
Thank you for going.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You got
Kim.
to drive a bus. Like, I didn't understand there were only 3.
Gloria, did you have your hand raised
Well, I
before?
was gonna ask about, the comment on the volunteers in the schools. Is that something that we're going to?
With the
either
vaccination?
Yeah, either discuss or do you have some update on that, Marie?
So, just a couple things, you know, we have that tiered mitigation strategy. It states that while we're in red, which is where we are, we would have volunteers on a very limited basis, I think are the words. So, we have been very, careful about having volunteers and using them only when we wouldn't be able to otherwise do the project. So I'm working with Beth to understand kind of what the writer talks about, because that wasn't our intent to have volunteers interacting with children. So we need to sort through that. The other topic, though, about requiring vaccination for volunteers actually was on my list of topics to talk with the leadership team at 1 o'clock, and then we have our recovery group, used to be the reopening group, who have a standing meeting at 3:30. Unfortunately, I had to cancel both of those meetings today because of everything else we were dealing with. But I do think we need to talk about it. We are, for our employees, saying you either need to be vaccinated or tested, so that is an issue I think we need to wrestle with. And I also, you know, plan to reach out to my colleagues to see where everyone is in terms of their expectations. So
Yeah.
it's a,
It just seems to leave a big hole there if we allow people to come in without showing that they're vaccinated. And we're putting everything at risk. I mean, here we're going through all this to protect our kids and our staff. And to leave that hole there, I don't think that's, yeah.
so it's
That would worry
definitely
me.
on the
I
top of the
agree,
list.
Gloria, and I guess this brings up one of the issues I was gonna raise. I didn't get to read through all of it, but I'm sure all of you saw that from the governor about the open meetings law and anything being actionable on the agenda needs to be on there for 24 hours, so. Because originally I thought, oh, you know, can't we just pass a resolution for volunteers? But no, we can't just do that, so.
Well, we usually have a policy where we discuss something and then we enact it the following meeting, but
Right, but not all the time.
we want to give this group an opportunity also to weigh in, but
That's the group.
I was just bringing it up because I
yes.
personally was, thinking, this is not a good thing if we're,
Kelly?
Yeah, I would be prepared to act on it next time for sure. I don't think there should be any different standard I don't think we should be doing a testing process for volunteers. I think it should be, if they want to volunteer, they should be vaccinated, period. So if we want to discuss and I know we can't do much over email afterwards, that's why I want to kind of get it out there now.
Well, I know that when we all saw the public comment that Dr. Wiles said you were going to be talking about it with your leadership team this
Right.
afternoon, so maybe we can just follow up after that.
Yeah.
Right, we meet every Tuesday.
good.
So-
So by the next meeting, you'll have it.
Yes, we'll have probably talked about it twice.
Okay. And you can fill us in on the Friday report so that we're
Exactly.
aware of what.
Blanca?
With regard to public comment number 3, I know that you said that you would be following up via email, but some statements were made that I think are incorrect, and for sake of not wanting to perpetuate false information. Mike Laster, my favorite thing to do is to put you on the spot. Is it in fact incorrect that people who are vaccinated can test positive and still go to school the very next day? That is incorrect. So for anybody that may have heard that at home, that is not the case. Also, in terms of testing out, I believe that our county doesn't do that, and that's not necessarily a school thing, that is a county thing, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other board issues, ideas, or sharing? This is not a big deal, but I see Ben's name still on the subcommittees for special ed PTA as an alternate and NISBA advocacy liaison as an alternate. I don't think we need to print it again, but we can just cross that out.
You know what, I had one more thing, is that okay?
Yep, go ahead, Blanca.
Back to number 3, public comment number 3. the writer does bring up a good point. As a mom of two kids, there are some kids that, and as a case investigator, there are some families who will still send their kids to school symptomatic because they think perhaps it's allergies, this time of year, things like that. And then later it's kind of like, wah, it was COVID. So why do we not have the screening anymore? And is it something we would want to consider bringing back?
We had a long, in that same committee that meets every Tuesday, we had a long conversation about whether or not the labor associated with the screening and the following up with all of the people who do it and fail to do it is a terrible draw on staff.
Okay.
And not to be cynical, but I'm not sure everyone really read it each day and responded
That's fair.
accurately. So with the staffing shortages that we have across the board, we just decided not to use it again this year. And I don't think we're alone in that. I think most districts realize that what we got out of it wasn't worth the amount of people, effort, and accuracy.
Okay.
Mostly the accuracy.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay, if we're all set, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Blanca, second Barb. All in favor? Aye, passes 9-0. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Don't forget to do your eval.